In this video, I show you how to make this a bit moody fall landscape with mixed media. Since it's fall time, please take a moment to take a cup of tea or some hot coffee or hot chocolate to enjoy the video and perhaps create some art with me. I decided to make this mixed media piece just to celebrate the autumn months. Truth be told, I really enjoy this a bit moody atmosphere that we get when the autumn months are here. Mornings can be very crisp, and sometimes I go outside before the sun has even risen. That happens actually quite a lot due to the fact that I live quite north, and it means that the days get shorter and shorter. So sometimes the mornings are extremely beautiful in their darkness. Same of course go for evenings, and we get these beautiful purple and blue moments when the world just looks somewhat gloomy but still very beautiful in its own mysterious way. I will start this piece with gouache and building a base layer of color so that I can then start adding other mediums on top of that. If you've been with me on my channel for a while already, you know that this gouache palette is the one that I keep at my art desk, and I like to re-wet it and use it a bit like watercolor, opaque watercolor, so I just want to use up the colors that I have here and continue to mix, and that way I can get these beautiful muted colors that are just perfect for this time of the year. I'm using here a Hahnemühe Nostalgia sketchbook. I will have the details of the art supplies I'm using today in the description, but this sketchbook is one of my favorites for mixed media. I'm a huge fan of Hahnemühe sketchbooks altogether, and this one is very smooth. The paper is very smooth, which means that it's perfect for all kinds of mixed media work. Now that the gouache layer has been dried, I will add some pan pastels, mainly because the sky obviously is a bit streaky and not very even color, and of course that's part of the style that I was after, but I wanted to also add pan pastels to kind of smoothen it a bit. And this lilac-y pan pastel, this is the violet tint. It is just beautiful. I'm also using here ultramarine blue tint, which is this beautiful light blue color, and they go beautifully together to create this kind of light blue lilac-y autumn sky. I'd actually say that this scenery might be a kind of late autumn, maybe like November scenery, not so much September. We still have lots of color, some leaves still on trees, but I don't know, I just felt like creating something that makes me even look a bit forward to those even darker months when the nature seems to be pretty much asleep and waiting for the new spring to come. Next, I'll be using some ink, and the ink I'm using today is black ink by Rohrer Klingner, and this bottle of ink is a very old one. I've had it for years, And the dip pen that I'm using is even older. I should really update and upgrade my dip pens. But this one still works somewhat, at least. Not the best one, but it does the trick. The reason I wanted to use a dip pen here, or I could also have used a fine liner, is that I wanted to create these kind of basic black outline and guidelines for the next layers to come. This will be a true mixed media piece, and it will take some time in between to try different layers. That's why I have my cup of autumn tea next to me. But building the layers means that I really like to have those kind of basic guidelines, and that's why I wanted to add ink at this point. Of course, it also goes beautifully with the Inktober theme. Not something I'm using too much, but actually ink is something I would like to use more and kind of explore more what options it can bring. Next, I will take out my Inktense pencils, and this is the set that I have curated from my larger set of Inktense pencils. These are some colors that I've chosen for the autumn season. I will start with dark mink, which is a very interesting color, but a very fascinating one. And I think it goes beautifully with this kind of moody atmosphere. And I will use this pencil to sharpen the ink line work that I've done already with the dip pen, but also to add a bit more distant trees, shadows of trees, the background. And you will see me using this dark mink quite a lot throughout the piece. It's just one of my favorite pencils for sure. What I love most about mixed media is how creative I can be, how there are no rules. You can actually do whatever you want and experiment and explore different options and see how things go together, what works, what doesn't. And even if something doesn't, you can still turn it around and make it a success in the end. This is why I like to at times take time to explore mixed media, and I am very much enjoying these little artworks that I create with it. Here you can see that I'm actually spreading around and even lifting some of the earlier layers of color, but that just creates these very interesting effects, which of course is just fascinating. I know many people enjoy the colorful autumn season and when there are beautiful leaves and all the beautiful autumn colors. But for me, there is also so much beauty in that kind of later stage of autumn. Where I live, we usually get winter months, like proper winter. We get snow and ice and really cold temperatures. But there are usually those month or two in kind of November, December, when the nature seems to be very bare. Everything is grey and dark, and it's very difficult to find any kind of living creatures, if you can say that way. It just seems that nature is so dark. But there is some real beauty there as well, and I am trying to embrace that. And doing art has really helped me with this. I think art gives us kind of a new perspective and helps us to see beauty even when it's hard. This dusky purple color is just gorgeous, and you will also see me using this one quite a bit throughout this piece. What I like to do with Inktense is that I don't activate all the pigment. I kind of mix and match. So I add pencil on paper, then I might tap some water here and there, which creates these very interesting effects. And here what I'm doing is that I'm adding pencil on a bit damp surface, which means that it gives these very intense lines. And I think it kind of easily creates the impression that there is something interesting in the kind of background of this image without working way too much on it. Next, I'm taking the Sepia ink pencil and kind of adding a bit more shadows and depth to the trees in the background, and also adding some other new branches as well. Now I'm taking navy blue to add a bit more kind of blue tone to the forefront of this picture. And don't worry, at this point it might look like a bit of a disaster because navy blue is a strong one. It is truly a blue color. But that's totally fine. I think it works beautifully. Just kind of do some glazing here in the forefront and gives that depth that that not everything is the same color. Of course, we can all the time see the original gouache layer that we put down first. That's what I love. I really enjoy the fact that we can kind of see the first layer of color as well. Here again, using that technique where I'm putting down Inktense pencil on a damp or even wet surface, and that creates very intense color and precise line work. When starting to add these details and imagining what is there in the forefront, this is where I just want it to be kind of very loose, create again those impressions of what might be there, not being too precise and not trying to be in any way accurate than what might actually be out there and what kind of plants and things and grass we can see. But I wanted to more like keep it loose and have this very relaxing, nice little sketching session. Here I'm using Payne's Grey, which is one of my favorite colors for any kind of landscapes, really. I think it is a very versatile color. It is very interesting color. And even though I think maybe this Inktense pencils, Payne's Grey, is not my all-time favorite Payne's Grey, but it's still a beautiful kind of bluish grey, which is gorgeous color and works well for this one. Now I'm working with deep indigo, which is a beautiful dark blue. Of course, indigo is always gorgeous, and I have to say this Inktense deep indigo is one of my favorite indigos. It is just beautiful, and you can soon see how beautiful and actually quite intense it is. And I'm also adding here some yellow so that it reflects the yellow that we have also more in the background of this picture. And the yellow I'm using here is Sicilian yellow, which is another very nice Inktense color. As we are now activating these new layers, you can see how kind of very intense and dark that deep indigo is. But I'm not activating all the pigment here. As is my usual style, I'm leaving some of it inactivated, which means that we can have that interesting texture. And here I'm going back to that dusky purple color and adding more of that the forefront as well. Now is the time to go back to the ink and dip pen, which at this point I realize is just, I think it must be like almost 20-30 years old dip pen, and even though it goes pretty strong still, oh my goodness, I really want to upgrade this at some point. But I am actually now trying to find different things in this mess that we've created, and that means that I'm outlining different elements and details and creating some new ones. When creating these sort of mixed media sketches that are quite quick sketches and that are also meant for just be a very relaxing and I would even say like a meditative process for me, I want to keep it loose and I want to kind of just throw the color on the paper and see what happens and do it kind of in an intuitive way, not planning too much ahead. And at this stage then, when I'm taking this dip pen, I'm kind of defining and deciding what I want to lift out of this mess that I've created and decide what I want to have and what I want to highlight. And this is super relaxing, and especially when working with a dip pen, which kind of glides nicely and creates these kind of very fine lines. It is a lot of fun. By the way, let me know in the comments if you have any good recommendations of good dip pens. As said, I would love to upgrade my old trusted one to maybe a little better one in the future, so any tips are most welcome. Next, I want to bring back some light, and I'm using this white gel pen to add some white details and just lift some of the kind of dark details back to life. I think this is what I really love with mixed media, how you can create these layers. And you can see the background of the picture. I haven't touched pretty much at all after the kind of initial layers. It's there, it tells its own story, it's a totally different atmosphere back there. And there, here in the forefront, we have more of the kind of not detailed, but a bit messy detailed plants and flowers and some late autumn grass and interesting details. And it was such a relaxing process and precisely what I needed this one morning that I created this piece. So here it is, our final artwork. I hope that you enjoyed this one. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like to see more mixed media pieces like this in the future, please leave me a comment below. I'd be very happy to hear your ideas and suggestions. I hope that you will enjoy your own art journey, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.